Bodies weren't falling for him at some points in that fight, but I believe we won that fight. Clearly, we should be two-time world champion right now.
Javant Tank Davis is back to trolling, and this time Lamont Roach Jr. is the target. After their fight ended in a controversial draw, Tank wasted no time in letting Roach know exactly how he felt. And not just that, the comments coming from Tank's rivals about his pretty boy excuse in the ring set up the perfect near-future fights for Tank. However, it seems that Tank's only focus is money, and it was revealed when he mentioned the fighter he was going to call out if he had won against Roach.
Who were you going to call out? What was the plan originally?
I think he was here.
Tank gonna do him.
He came in my locker room.
Shakur Stevenson?
He wasn't in my locker room.
Jake Paul?
Next question.
Let's catch you up in a heated live session. Davis mocked Roach, claiming he was still the better man and that Roach should be thankful he didn't get knocked out. But Roach wasn't having it. He made it clear that Davis did everything in his power to win and still couldn't get the job done. Now, as the dust settles, it looks like Tank might not be done with Roach just yet.
Nobody like a draw, you know, from a guy that get knockouts and things like that, but it's cool. I feel like if we fight again, I could do more, and I should have did more. I was lost in I lost track in
The fight itself was a good one. Roach came in sharp, outworking Tank in multiple rounds, and even had a moment in the ninth that sent shockwaves through the boxing world. Tank took a knee. Most fans and analysts called it a clear knockdown, but the referee didn't see it that way. That single moment changed everything. Had it been ruled correctly, Roach would have walked away with the biggest win of his career. Instead, the fight was ruled a majority draw, and Tank held on to his WBA lightweight title. Music. Despite the controversy, Tank has been in full troll mode ever since he hopped on social media the moment he got the chance, reminding Roach that he was still the champion and that a draw wasn't enough for him to claim victory. "You should be thanking me for not ending your career," Davis said in one post and another. He flat out dismissed Roach's performance, saying, "You had the fight of your life and still couldn't beat me." But Roach isn't the type to just sit back and take it. He fired right back, telling Tank that he knew the truth. Davis gave it everything he had and still couldn't put him away.
They was both even. If you watch the fight, they was both watching each other. Sometimes they stood right in front of each other, was just trying to figure out where the holes was at. It was a very skillful fight.
And which is one of the things that when you fight somebody that you know.
"You know what happened in that ring," Roach said during an Instagram live session. "You felt it, you did your best, and you couldn't beat me. Told you I was no Frank Martin." It was a direct challenge, one that Tank clearly didn't appreciate. Davis then went on to talk about his excuse to take a knee in the fight. It didn't take long for Davis to respond, and this time he went even further. "Man, y'all keep talking about that knee," he said. "I took a knee 'cause I wanted to, not 'cause he did anything special. I was just chilling, thinking about what I was going to eat after the fight." But everyone knows the truth. The moment was a rare sign of vulnerability from Davis, and Roach is using it to keep the pressure on.
And I thought I was doing my thing, so I'm not really that frustrated about that. But if that was kind of a knockdown, I would win a majority decision.
All of this back and forth is now forcing Tank to reconsider his future before the Roach fight. Davis had been vocal about his plans to retire soon. He originally said he had 3 more fights left after Roach, and that he'd be done with boxing by the end of 2025. But that draw changed everything now. Davis is saying he's not going anywhere just yet. Yeah, it definitely changed my plans. It definitely changed my plans, Tank admitted in the post-fight press conference. "I probably got 4 more fights now."
Your future.
Yeah, it definitely changed my plans. It definitely changed my plans. I probably got like 4 more fights now. For sure.
It's a complete shift from where he was just months ago. At the end of 20,124, Tank said he had grown tired of boxing. He was ready to walk away, and his plan was set. But now he's got something to prove. The draw against Roach has clearly been eating at him. Even though he won't admit it outright, his non-stop trolling is proof. Applause. Enough. But while he's at that, Keeson Davis is on a mission to expose him. and he's not holding anything back ever since Tank's controversial draw with Roach. Keeson has been all over social media, making it clear that he never believed Tank was the fighter he claimed to be to Keen. Tank's entire aura has been built on hype, not true skill. And Keen stop. Yeah, Keen first spoke out on Instagram Live, and he wasted no time tearing into Tank's performance. I feel like Lamont won. Let's start there, he said, making sure everyone knew exactly where he stood. I feel like Lamont definitely won a draw, is what it is. I ain't hating on the decision. But I did feel like Roach pulled it off. But he wasn't just stating his opinion. He was backing it up with facts. Had the 9th round knee been ruled correctly as a knockdown, Roach would have won on 2 of the 3 scorecards, making him the new WBA lightweight champion. Instead, Tank kept his belt, and the controversy only added to the conversation about whether or not he's really the best at 135. If they ran it back, y'all already know what was
playing out. What's the biggest advantage that Keyshawn has going against
Tank?
Yeah,
He's a great boxer. He sounds a great boxer, and he got power behind him. So I can see that fight just being an entertaining fight. He sounds an entertainer, like you said. Tank comes in there trying to knock you out. I can see that fight just being entertained and, doing later rounds, Keyshawn stop it.
Yeah.
But this wasn't just about Roach. This was about Keeson putting himself in the conversation. He doesn't just believe Roach beat Tank. He believes he himself would do far worse to him. I'm the best at 135, man, he said confidently. Either one of them guys, I'm knocking them outward. He wasn't hesitant. He wasn't unsure. He was speaking like a man who already knows what's going to happen. I'm telling you, if you give me either or before their rematch, I'm f***ing that rematch. They are getting put. I ain't playing. I'll put all these guys down. The message was clear. Tank and Roach can run it back all they want. But it doesn't matter, because if Keeson gets to either of them first, he'll be the one taking over the division.
The nigga trash. I'm talking about the opponent. Burn trash. I just don't like how.
And then came the moment where Keeson really let Tank have it. Don't say Tank will knock me out no more. I'm shutting that down right now. Don't fix your mouth to even say this man could knock me out crazy. It wasn't just trash talk. It was a full-on dismissal of everything. Tank has built his name on the power, the knockouts, the fear factor. Keeson doesn't see any of it as real in his mind. Tank has never fought anyone like him. And he's letting it be known that the moment they step in the ring, it'll be a different kind of fight than anything Tank has experienced before.
But I don't want to fight one of them. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who I fight at this point. I don't care. But I'm telling you, if you give me either or before they rematch, I'm fucking their rematch up. They getting put. I'm telling you, I ain't even playing. I ain't playing, bro. I'm young. I'm on fire. I'm young and I'm on fire.
Keeson isn't just talking for the sake of it. There's a real possibility that he could be next in line to face Tank. While Tank has said he's open to a rematch with Roach, he also made it clear that it won't be next. That has fans speculating if it's not Roach, then who Devin Haney and Shocker Stevenson are names that have been floating around. But so is Keeson Davis, and given how personal he's making it, the build-up to that fight would be unlike anything we've seen from Tank in a long time. Keeson isn't just calling out Tank's last fight, he's calling out his entire career. He's making the argument that Tank has never been what people say he is. He's saying that he's been carefully matched up against opponents who make him look good rather than true threats.
And I thought I should have won a competitive fight. I think I did what I needed to do necessary to bank the rounds, and even without the knee, that should have been a knockdown. So I don't think there's any excuse for me not to win tonight, but that's just how the cookie crumbled.
And now that he's finally been in a real fight, he barely survived to Keen. The myth of Tank is crumbling, and he wants to be the one to put the final nail in the coffin. But the backlash is not coming from Keeson alone. Tim Bradley had been one of Tank's toughest critics for years, constantly questioning his level of opposition and the way his career was managed. But even he had to add adamite that Tank had something special, especially with how Tank responded to the Saudis. Over time, Bradley had started to appreciate those qualities, even if he didn't always agree with how Tank carried himself. But after what he saw against Lamont Roach Jr., all of that respect was gone.
Particular quality, if I'm Tank Davis and I'm coming off a disappointment in terms of my offensive output, I'm not going straight to the best defender in the division. I'm looking for some other fight, and I think the logical fight for him is a rematch with Lamont Roach.
It wasn't just that Tank underperformed. It was the way he carried himself, the entitlement, the belief that he could do whatever he wanted in the ring and get away with it. Bradley had seen a lot in boxing, but Tank's antics in that fight left him shaking his head. He had expected a dominant performance from Davis, a statement win that would silence critics and prove he was still the man to beat at 135. Instead, Tank looked vulnerable, and worse, he acted like he was above the sport.
I think when he found out that this guy is in front of me, he's taking it. I think it was too late. I thought it was disappointing that it ended in a draw.
Bradley was disgusted by what he saw, and he didn't hold back in his analysis. He felt Tank had been given an unfair advantage, that the fight was being controlled to protect him, rather than let the action play out naturally. The ninth round incident was the perfect example. Bradley had never seen a fighter take a knee like that, pause the action on his own terms, and have it completely ignored by the referee. That was the moment Bradley realized that Tank wasn't just the aside, he was being treated like boxing royalty, with rules bent in his favor. And for someone like Bradley, who prided himself on fighting the hard way, that was unacceptable.
You can't even see who it is. Hey, who is the dude? Who is the dude?
He also took issue with Tank's attitude during the fight. There was no sense of urgency, no real effort to take control in the later rounds when the fight was slipping away. It was almost as if Tank believed his status alone would be enough to secure the win, as if the judges wouldn't dare score it against him. Bradley had seen fighters lose hunger before, but this was different. Tank wasn't just coasting. He was acting like he didn't need to do more than the bare minimum, and that to Bradley was a major problem.
The rules up. Yeah, that was bullshit. It should have been called a knockdown. You can't take a break like that. The only person that can do that is the referee. The referee can stop the action and say, hey, let me take you to the corner.
Bradley was particularly frustrated because he had actually started to come around on Tank. He had given him credit after his knockout win over Ryan Garcia, acknowledging that Tank had shown patience, timing, and a high ring IQ. He had even defended Tank against some critics who claimed he was overrated, arguing that his power made him one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport. But this fight changed everything. Tank's unwillingness to push himself, the way he relied on his status rather than his skills, made Bradley question whether he had ever been wrong to give him that credit in the first music place. The more Bradley thought about it, the angrier he got. This wasn't just about one fight, it was about what it meant for the future. If signs of complacency, if he already felt like he didn't have to prove himself, what would happen in his next fights? What would happen if he faced someone like Keeson Davis, who was young, hungry, and eager to take him down? What would happen if he fought Devin Haney or Shocker Stevenson, two fighters who wouldn't let him get away with taking rounds off? Bradley didn't like what he saw, and he wasn't afraid to say,
Oh, stop closing up. Gotta let it go. Keep turning, step around.
For Bradley, boxing is about discipline, heart, and the willingness to dig deep when things got tough. He had been in wars, had pushed himself to the absolute limit, and had never once expected special treatment. That's why this whole situation disgusted him. He didn't care how much talent Tank had. If he wasn't willing to fight like a champion, then he was never a real champion. But even with all this backlash, Tank Davis seems to have reached a point where what the fans think doesn't really matter to him. He's not looking to prove himself against the best in his division. He's not worried about legacy right now. It's all about the money. And if that's the case, then Jake Paul is the biggest payday available. The clues are all there. Jake Paul was in the locker room before the fight. The cameras made sure to show him during the broadcast, and when Tank was asked about his next fight, he danced around the question in a way that made it clear he already knew who it was. He even refused to say Jake's name when the media peer him, which could mean negotiations are already underway, and he didn't want to spill the news too soon. A fight with Jake Paul wouldn't be about competition, it would be about business. Jake knows how to sell a fight, and Tank is at a point where he's prioritizing paydays over challenges. He already hinted that a rematch with Lamont Roach wasn't happening next. Even though the controversy from their fight makes it the most logical option, the WBA should be ordering an immediate rematch. But Tank doesn't seem interested if they push the issue. He could just vacate the title and move on. That's how little the belts matter to him now. And if he's going to move on from defending his title, why not go all in and take the biggest spectacle fight he can get? So size-wise, this fight makes no sense. Jake Paul walks around at 200 pounds and has even gone as high as 227 for his fight with Mike Tyson. Tank is a natural 135-pounder, maybe 140 at most. Even if Jake somehow drained himself down to 185.
Okay. We still got to see each other. He say he want to fight me, so we gonna fight.
But what do you think about the decision?
I told him I won.
You told him I won. Got you. I'll talk to you later, Chicago.
Jake knows exactly how to get under people's skin and turn fights into must-see events. He's already throwing out hints that he'd destroy Tank due to the size difference, while still giving him respect as a fighter. That's the kind of comment that will keep the conversation going. He's planting the seed. And Tank seems like he's on board. If Tank was really interested in fighting Devin Haney or Shocker Stevenson, he would have said their names when asked. Instead, he played coy, dodged the question, and let the speculation grow. That's exactly how a Jake Paul fight would be promoted. No. For years, Tank's fan base defended him. When people questioned his level of competition, they argued that he was the most dangerous puncher in the sport, that he didn't need to fight the biggest names to prove himself. But now even his most loyal supporters are finding it hard to back him up. His performance against Roach was underwhelming, and his attitude after the fight made it clear that he's not taking these fights seriously. If he goes on to fight Jake Paul next, it would be undeniable proof that he has no interest in fighting the best music anymore. Mainstream attention, Tank has always been a star in the boxing world, but Jake Paul brings in a completely different audience. This would be a fight that sells purely because of the names involved, not because of any real competition. Casual would eat it up, and hardcore boxing fans would hate it. But either way, it would make money. And at this stage, that seems to be the only thing Tank cares about. Some might argue that Tank is just trolling, that he wouldn't actually go through with fighting Jake Paul. But the fact remains, he hasn't denied it. When the idea was brought up, he didn't shoot it down, he didn't laugh it off, he just moved on to the next question. That's not how a fighter responds when a ridiculous rumor is brought up. That's how a fighter responds when something is being negotiated behind the scenes. The biggest problem with all of this is that Tank still has unfinished business at lightweight. He has top-tier challengers waiting for him, fighters like Shocker Haney, and even Keeson Davis, who's been calling him out nonstop. If Tank wants to prove he's the best at 135, those are the fights he needs to take. But if he chooses to fight Jake Paul instead, then, and it's clear, he's given up on being great. He's no longer trying to build a legendary career. He just wants the biggest bag possible. And right now, Jake Paul is that bag.